Hi everyone, it's Matthew, and I'm back with another video of Euro Truck Simulator 2. So today we're driving this Kenworth W900A. This isn't the stock one you get from ETS2.LT or whatever. It's a special customized one that I got from a friend, which I'll try and link to, but you can't distribute the link because it's against what the person that made this mod policies. He doesn't want the mod distributed about. I'm genuinely struggling to get out of this place. I'm struggling to see where to go. Turn down there. Now I think we go around here now.
But they wanted $274 for not turning off the lights, and I thought it was a lot. Now I don't like to go around picking fights with the cops.
And that's the first time I've successfully got out of this place. Wow. But anyway, so we're taking this this excavator from Christian Sand to Smolsk. Let me show you. This will be easier. We're taking it from Christian here, and we're taking it all the way to Smolensk in Russia. So it's a pretty long journey, and obviously I'm not going to do all of it in this video because that would take, I don't know, hours, quite literally. Anyway, so let me just shut the curtain because, well, the sun is, well, half my screen is blurred at the moment, so I can't see what I'm doing properly.
Facts that she had that the vehicle code applied to me, and she looked at me and she very quickly said, "I can't give you any legal advice."
Right, and now I can finally see what I'm doing.
Yeah, come back May 7th.
So I was a bit stuck yesterday or this morning when I woke up about what to talk about. I had not necessarily things planned to talk about, but I knew about things that people were talking about, and well, I had a look around for a few things I could talk about, and I found a few. They're not the most interesting things in the world, but there are topics to talk about, so you know, alright. Let's first talk about this truck. So yeah, as I said about this truck, if I'm able to give the link, which I should be able to, don't distribute it and claim it's yours. If I don't distribute it at all, because if you distribute it and the mod maker finds out, you know, he'll probably take the link down and you'll get banned from that particular site or whatever. It's a very strict sort of policy he has. So anyway, you know, I think you remember me driving this truck before a while back on the old system, and you know, the max FPS I get was about 19, and that was on you know, motorways, and the moment I'm getting about 21, 24 up to 30 in town, then out of town it's 30 upwards. Of course, with the standard trucks on these sort of things, I can manage it up to about 50 on the really remote roads, which is just quite really good, I think. And I think I've made a bit more of a plan of how I'm gonna do this machine, what I'm gonna do with it, and I think probably by October I'll end up buying the new memory and cooler for the CPU, and try and work out better cooling for the whole PC.
The ticket, he said I violated it, so he must know that the code applies.
And
Give legal advice. He's not
what am I trying to
competent to
say?
write a ticket either.
Well, it's not that
yeah, buy one of them coolers, one of them decent coolers. I forget which one it's called. It's,
He made the legal
I think it's by a company called Noctuous, or Noctuous, Noctus or something, Noctus or something like that. It's an Austrian company, and their CPU cooler I have in mind isn't exactly beautiful, but it works pretty well. I've seen loads of people use it, and they're more than happy with it, and it isn't too expensive. It isn't too much money. It's only about £60, so you know. Probably. I don't know whether. Oh, I should have gone through all packs. Damn it. But I don't really know. You know, I don't exactly know. Should I get the motherboard this year? Because to be fair, the motherboard I have in mind is the old LJ 2011 1155 socket. Which is getting fewer and far between nowadays, and stupid crash vehicle, where was it? I can't even see him now. Whatever it was, I very much doubt I actually hit them, but more they hit me. Unless I did actually hit them, or whatever. But anyway, so you know, the whole thing. I mean, if it was still readily available, I would wait till next year or year after. But I think, to be honest, I might have to, you know, buy it, end up having to buy it this year, and then keep it in storage until I actually use it, because it may not be available properly in a couple of years' time. I mean, yeah, sure, there are people that still use the really old CPUs and the really old sockets, and they're still available some places, but I've only found one on a site called PC Parts Picker because of some very kind person that linked me to them. In fact, he linked me to three. Well, he linked me to an Asus one, a Gigabyte one, and the whole site. And I chose the Asus one because it looked the best over the Gigabyte. And, you know, when I get that, it'll allow me to put the new RAM I'm getting up to 2400 MHz, which should help with the FPS of it by about, which helps by about 5 or 10 frames, I think, ish. Or depends. And the cooler, well, the cooler won't really have an advantage with the new motherboard, but the CPU will, because it should be able to, you know, up the speed of that from up the speed from 3.7 to 3.4 to 3.8 or maybe 3.8 or maybe 4. I don't know. I probably wouldn't end up putting it to like 4.4 because I think that's a little bit mad for processor this old. But yeah, 3.8 or 3.9 would be alright.
Had called in and did not want to pursue the case, so the case was dropped. The only thing that makes me think otherwise was because they called my case last, and they usually do that when they don't want to see any drama. And
yeah, it's a very nice. It is a very nice looking excavator, and I don't know whether it's one in the new one of the new trailers that came in Scandinavia, or whether it's one of the mod packs. I suspect it's a mod, but if it was a trailer from SES, then I would say well done, because it looks realistic. It really does. It looks beautiful. I mean, the whole thing about the SES trailers compared to the mods are better. Well, you know, it really depends on what you think, because at the end of the day, you might be one of those people which doesn't really play with mods anymore, it's not that interested in them, and prefers to play a game stock until and see what it has to do. And to fair, to people like that, you know, the Scandinavian DLC does add a lot more to the game. In the case of the map and, you know, the trailers as well. So, you know, you could say that the quality from SES, they put a lot of hard work into it from the mod makers. which I suppose is true in a way, because they've worked on this for like 6, 7, 8 months now, or even longer, and the mod makers probably don't work on it for more than a couple of weeks, because they probably have, I don't know, the mod maker might have several people working for him doing it, unless he's just doing it on his own. Which if he's doing it on his own, then, you know, hat off to him if he's doing it on his own, because Jesus Christ, it's a lot of things he provides, Jazzycat does, on it if he's working on his own. But I doubt he's working on his own, he must have people working for him. But you know, at the end of the day, I think both have decent quality, and you know, at the end of the day, they're never going to be able to, SES as they are at the moment, are never going to be able to match someone like Jazzycat in the quantity. But I think what SES will be able to do is do quality over quantity. I think is what they're kind of about, which I actually kind of like. I think that, you know, I would rather have a quality map rather than something like TSM, which is not as bad as it was when it came out, but it's still not that, doesn't have that much quality in it. It's more quantity over quality, really, and I personally prefer a map which is more quality over quantity. Maps like the Rus Map and the MHA and SKM, they don't necessarily add a lot, but what they have is quality. That's what I want, and the Rus Map adds a fair bit, and that actually has quality in it as well. So, you know, at the end of the day, it is your decision whether you want to go for quality over quantity or quantity over quality. You know, because I suppose there are people out there which probably would like TSM a lot because you go down to Africa. But you could argue, and I would argue, well, Africa's not part of Europe, is it? Or, you know, it's a separate continent. So, does that still make it Euro Truck Simulator? Euro Truck Simulator? Not really, no. It doesn't really, I think, say, hey, I'm doing Euro Truck Simulator with Africa in addition. You know, it doesn't seem to me like it's that. It doesn't seem to be like it's that really. It's really that logical to have a map that big in Europe. Because I mean, Europe, if you compare it to some places in the world like America, it's not an incredibly big place. I mean, it has a fair few countries in it, but it's not a vast, wide, incredibly big continent. I mean, the whole continent of Europe is smaller than the USA or Canada on its own, you know. So, at the end of the day, it's never going to be one of these places which has incredible quantity. It's, you know, it's going to be quality at the end of the day. So, I don't know. Tell me what you think, because I would love to know.
The government is about as corrupted as, I don't know how much more corrupted it can get. They really don't have any authority.
I mean, this Scandinavian DLC, as you can probably tell, is absolutely beautiful. I mean, to be fair, Pro Mods was alright, but I haven't driven around these roads yet, and I've driven up this road, and this road over here is absolutely, especially you saw this part, it's absolutely incredible. It really is, and you know, I love it so much. It's so good.
Do you rely upon that show that the vehicle code applies to me? And she couldn't answer that.
Well,
she just got upset instead.
The FPS has gone down a bit in this tunnel to 15 or slightly higher, and now it's going back up. Yeah, the FPS in Euro Truck is actually, I think, a fairly well optimized game. You know, it's one of the better ones. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better than it used to be. The FPS drops in towns and tunnels is nowhere near as bad as it used to be. You know,
first appearance, I was called maybe third or fourth, and there were a whole room full of people there.
Yeah, they don't want you infecting the rest of the herd. We'll be back here on the No State Project now on LRN.FM in just a moment, talking with Al and of course my guest host today, or co-host today, Vin James of No State Project. Well, welcome back. We're here live on the No State Project.
I don't know how much more I'm going to do in the video. I mean, you've got 1400 miles to go, which is obviously, as I said at the start, I'm not going to do all of it in the video. But you know, I'll probably do a fair bit, I'd imagine.
Part of the show, either way, is going to be recorded because it's not set in stone. We're hoping to have a pre-recorded segment. Well, when I say segment, I don't mean just a regular segment, but a part of the show will be with Corporation Nation, Clint Richardson. So we'll be talking about.
Yeah, I love this truck. It is absolutely beautiful, man. Oh, did I show you the jailbreak sound? The jailbreak sound I'll do in a minute. It is absolutely incredible. I'll go outside when I do it, but it is brilliant. Let's go 13. Let's go outside. Yeah, that sounds incredible. It really does.
We'll see. So if you're available, you're more than welcome. I'd love to, to have you join me on that also. Of course, yeah. And when we're talking now with Al, he's been on the show before. So those people out there who say I buy material, let's always look at the material. That the material that we talk about here on the No Stay Project has never helped anybody get something thrown out because it doesn't count. It's like, especially like this new one, but just because the cop didn't show up. Okay, but you also have, and you've been on the show before, you believe that what you learned from the material at MarkStevens.net,
Yeah, that does sound incredible.
helped you get an acquittal on a conspiracy charge.
Absolutely.
And that was a felony.
Yeah, and if it wasn't for that, I would have just been getting out of prison now.
Jeez. And that was a felony to be.
Yeah, an alleged felony, but I mean, it's the thing is that the shifting of the burden of proof is the game changer in any courtroom. Okay, and so by asking how do these codes apply to me is not. If they did apply to you, then obviously they would have jurisdiction. But if they don't even have jurisdiction to run a trial. And I wish I had understood that a little bit better. But when I got your book, I was still in the slammer.
Well, I never talked about train sim. Yeah, Dovetail is talking about something like Train Simulator 2015. What's it called? Long Journeys Edition or something? Which is basically Train Sim 2015, but with a new title. That's basically what it is. It doesn't add anything else at all. It's Train Sim 2015 with a new title. Simple as that. And at the end of the day, the game can do so much better. That's the sad thing. The game can do so much better, but yeah, the engines they use is so old that it doesn't really allow them to do that. And really, they need to get on the new engine sooner rather than later, because all it feels like we're getting at the moment is the run around. With them saying, they're not saying anything about it, not talking about progress, and not even hyping it up, getting people excited for it. They're just talking about other games like the fishing and the flight. No, I don't think the future of Dovetail games is very good at the moment if they carry on with this, because honestly, it'll probably end up being that most people are probably going to end up, if the next gen isn't any good, then I imagine that probably most people end up leaving the game, leaving flight sim, leaving fishing sim, all of this, and then, they end up not playing it, not buying anything, and the company ends up going bankrupt. And I bet when they go bankrupt, that will be when they realise, hey, we made a serious mistake. We completely cocked up and fucked up our release of the, we completely, messed it up, our release of the next gen. Because we never knew, we never thought them. I think Dovetail think, and this is my opinion, I really don't know if this is true, but I think Dovetail thinks we're a bit fake, train simulators, because they think we just look at trains all day and play. Well, no, we're not. Some of us are genuinely hard working, and when you come home to train sim, at the end of the day to have a bit of fun, and we want a game which is good, has nice graphics, is optimized well, and you know, has realistic physics of driving a train. And what we get is something which physics are decent, but ends up being that the rest of it is completely and utterly out of date. And I'm not talking about a couple of years out of date, I'm talking 20 odd years out of date. The engine they use, I think, is the same engine they used in Railway Tycoon in the 90s, whatever it is. That game in the 90s that ended in Tycoon. Roller Coaster Tycoon, it might have been. But yeah, it's pretty much the same engine they used in that game and many others before. And at the time was one of the most, I think, advanced engines you could have. And I think now it's so old it just doesn't work anymore, and they really do need to update it to Unreal Engine 4, because the current one, whatever it's called, Unreal Engine 3 or 2, whatever it is, just doesn't cut it anymore. It really isn't what the game deserves. The game can do so much better, and yet the company, I think, as it seems, it may not be the case, but how are we supposed to know? Because they don't tell us anything, do they? All they say about these other games, they never talk about the next gen, what's happening. So we have to assume all this from what is happening, you know. That's something I really don't like, is when people have to assume. They actually have to assume what's going on, and then theories that are spread around which aren't true and make the company look bad or whatever, and then people just leave. You know, I would rather a company say what's going on. Like, if they can't use the Unreal Engine, no, I'd rather they be honest and say they can't currently use it for however long it is or whatever, and put a good reason and have a decent explanation that satisfies and says, hey, if you really, I would rather that they try and fix the current one, you know, add more to it, they reprogram it rather than into a fully new engine. Because going to a fully new engine is a lot of work. Let's get that straight right now. Going to a new engine in a game is a heck of a lot of work, because you basically have to take all the old software and trains and DLCs and every single load of assets Dovetail have, and then they have to basically convert it over to a completely new engine of software and data and all kinds of things, and convert it over and go testing and all kinds. And I don't think the company is even that big, so you know, at the end of the day, they can't really, you know, do it that quickly, can they? It probably will end up taking them several years even to run it. I mean, they probably only started last year, and it's probably, I very much doubt 2016 is going to be the year we're going to see, you know, the new engine. I would think maybe 2020 if we're lucky, because of the amount of time it will take them with all the other stupid things they're doing, which they have so much work going into DLCs and not anything else. It seems like, that's the thing, it seems like it. They may have tons of work going into the new engine, but they don't say about that, do they? They haven't said. It just feels like there's very little work going into the new engine, and all the work is into DLCs, you know? That's the thing. And it's a very much feels like a game now which they're focusing on new players and not long-term veteran players which have stayed with the game and genuinely do want a decent game. Because I mean, it's not that we don't want a decent game, we want a decent game. The problem is we're not being given anything back about the new game at all. And it feels like almost we're having to search for information. Well, you already have to. Don't get me wrong, you have to search for it anyway, or look for it on a site, but it feels like we're almost trying to search for what's going on, you know? It doesn't feel like we're getting anywhere. But, you know, on the other hand, I keep saying, they should just tell us what's going on, and then we wouldn't be, we'd have genuine information to go on, rather than, you know, just sitting here, you know, having no idea what's going on. So, you know, I don't know. Again, it's very much an opinion of subject, and you may completely disagree. You may think that at the end of the day it's right not to talk about it, which I suppose you could say, but you know, at the end of the day, it is kind of your opinion as well as mine, so you know, I don't blame you for disagreeing, because there are tons and tons of people that think different things about it. So
thanks to Calvin. You can contact Ian at lrn.fm. Ian Freeman, of course, of Free Talk Live, which is immediately after the big show here today. We're also, of course, the 1 to 4 Pacific time Saturdays, and that's Sunday morning in Australia and New Zealand. Appreciate everyone tuning in for that. So I want to. So
I think, to be honest, I'm going to stop the video here. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video. You know, do make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. It does all help. But for now, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.